The following program is brought to you by Jack Miller.
It's Down to Business with Jack Miller. Forget what they teach you in school. This is real life, not Wall Street, but Main Street. A real show on what's really involved with starting and running a business with all the ups and downs. Our guests will answer your questions and provide you with valuable information. Stay tuned and join in the conversation.
Hello, everyone. It's Jack Miller and Todd Cohen. Todd, I don't know about you, but normally I am a very buttoned up, extremely reserved kind of guy.
I don't believe that for a second.
It's the truth. It's the truth. I'm very uptight.
You've given me no evidence of that whatsoever.
I don't know what it is. You come on the air and you feel like this pressure to let loose, or maybe it's a thing. So for any potential clients up there, some people think I have no sense of humor. I never joke around, straight as an arrow. So I don't know. I think we all have this side of us that wants to be immature, and I think when we're on the radio,
right,
we're immature. And I guess it's for me because I work with such serious matters all the time. I can't joke around.
It gives a good, chance to release a little bit of
relieve
tension.
That's what it is. I can't.
Stress.
It's very hard when you're in the financial service business to joke around. It's too serious.
Right.
So,
like the break room. If you work in a larger company, that's always a good place. The water cooler. People sort of cut loose a little bit. But
I am on the phone constantly. Literally, I leave my house. It's about 45 minutes to work. I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone at night. I go home. I get home 7 o'clock. I eat dinner. I'm on the phone for 2 hours, answering emails, talking to clients.
Right, and when it rains, it pours. We were just talking about that at the break. You go through these ebbs and flows of business, and it, all of a sudden you do one deal, and then it leads to another deal, and trust me, it's a good problem to have. But you get so busy during these peaks, and then the valleys come, and it's so dry, and it's a lot like dating. Girls don't give you the time of day, and then you're dating a girl, and all of a sudden, all these girls that you call you back, and you go into a hot streak. And
speaking of
I don't know what to tell you. It's been like 20 years since I dated, but at least that's what I remember.
This doesn't have anything to do with dating, but I was going to talk about it when we were talking about dogs. What do you think of people who have dogs who put up Facebook pages?
Of their dog?
Yeah, I know. We have two good friends. And one of them, it says Sparky's page, and one of them has Bentley's page. They're very nice people, and their dogs have Facebook pages. I think that's too far.
Yeah, I think it's
people
too far,
are nuts.
too.
People are nuts.
But people, at the end of the day, people make their own choices in life.
I know.
I can't,
I don't know what that has to do with real estate, but that's how my mind works. Anyway.
Look, more life advice with Jack and Todd. That's what this show is morphing into anyway. We might
yeah.
That last segment, we shifted gears more times that I think we blew the transmission of our show during the previous segment.
That's the way my mind works.
Yeah, we're stream of consciousness.
I'm ADD or whatever it is, not diagnosed,
That's right.
But I'm sure I am.
It's like a good Faulkner book.
That's it. Okay, so more questions that we got from our great audience, really, really great audience, and building. It's amazing. I'm just shocked at how it's building. So should I buy a property myself and manage it, or should I invest in a REIT? So if you think about it, a guy has X dollars, whatever it is, $1, $100,000, $1 million, he invests himself, or he can invest with some of the best managers in the world.
I would possibly pick C, depending on the property, and go off the board there and say, find a property, and if it's too much to manage yourself, or if you don't really know what you're doing at this stage, hire a management company who is proficient in your area or in that area with that product type, and then sort of learn from them. See if you can work out a deal where you can shadow them around and see what they do and how they do it, and let them know you're hiring them for 2 years or whatever to do this, but you want to learn and know how to do what they do for your next property.
Could be. Look, I think managing real estate is very hard, and buying real estate is very hard. And maybe because I'm in the lending side and we do workouts and turnarounds, I see a lot of deals when they go bad. And people get into things. Everyone walks down the aisle thinking their marriage is going to last forever. But what's the divorce rate? 50%. Everyone starts a new business thinking it's going to last, but 70% of them go out of business within 2 years. So it's the same thing with real estate. I think there's something to be said for investing in a REIT or with somebody who that's their profession. Because the truth is, a lot of these REIT managers are a lot smarter than me. They're a lot, they know what they're doing. And it's the same thing with investing in Apple. When you buy a stock or a REIT or invest with someone, you're investing with the best and the brightest. So I think there's something to be said for mixing it up.
Absolutely
sometime.
is, and you probably should mix it around. But if it's something that you're really contemplating and you really want to do that, and you want something that can help you, build and preserve your wealth and have your money working side by side with you, you actually have to buy the real estate to do that. You have to pay down a mortgage or even buy it all cash. You have to be able to take the depreciation and offset things. You have to be able to, get the upside. And I mean, you're never investing with someone who charges fees and who's out there and diversifying and rides cycles that you don't necessarily want anything to do with. It's a totally different animal than, getting out there and buying a 2 or 3 tenant property and managing it yourself and sort of learning what you're doing and getting the upside of just like when you buy a house. I mean, there's all sorts of cycles in the housing market, but if you get in there and pay a mortgage down, at some point you're going to have equity in the deal.
I think it all depends on the person. I think real estate is a lot more labor intensive and capital intensive than people think. And
it all goes back to you need to have goals and you need to have a plan and you need to, write them down and talk to someone about them and figure out what, how you're going to execute on that plan.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Should I invest with a friend or a relative? That's a tough one.
That is a tough question. Here's the thing. I mean, anytime you bring a partner into a deal, whether it's a friend, a relative, someone you don't know, or even a bank, by having a lender, it's like getting married. And not all, as Jack just alluded to, 50% of marriages in this country at least end in divorce. And I would say the number is probably even higher for partnerships in business deals.
Let me tell you, I for many years, I invested with friends and had friends invest in my deals. And when everything is great, everything is great.
That's right.
But when the economy went bad a few years ago, it was disastrous. And it's much harder to deal with friends. So everyone's different, but from Jack Miller's point of view, no.
The quickest way to ruin a friendship or ruin a relationship in your family is to go into business with those people.
I agree.
That's
and
right.
You know what happens? They all say, oh, I want to invest. I know the risks and blah, 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 blah. As soon as something goes bad, that's the end of it. So if they're a real friend, my personal advice would be forget it. Go somewhere else.
Right.
Okay. I'm just going to keep knocking them down in no order. Can a bank really put you in default if you're paying your loan on time? And the answer to that is 100% yes.
Unfortunately, the answer is yes.
I deal with this literally every single day of the week. I deal with loans that are current on the payment, and for usually technical reasons, the bank will put you in default. And the bank will usually win. It could be you went through a balloon. It could be a debt service covenant. But loan documents are literally 3-4 inches thick. They're almost impossible to understand. There's a million loopholes. There's on-demand clauses. So the bottom line is, even if you're in default, even if you're paying your loan current and perfectly, a bank can absolutely put you in default. I've had it happen to me dozens of times. And I represent dozens of clients that happens to.
Get to know your loan servicer.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. They dump you like a piece of hotcake. If something happens, really the loans are being underwritten and managed today by the FDIC, by the regulators.
That's right.
They're making all the decisions. So even if your bank loves you and you have a great relationship, if they have a business reason to downsize, or if for example you have a retail loan and the bank deems they have too many retail loans, they'll push you off the books in a second. And when they the days of personal banking and get to know your banker and relationship banking is long gone. Long gone. There's no relationship. If you think it is, you're whatever. Don't think it is. Don't think it is. Okay, how much faith should I put in a forma that a realtor gives me? Todd, this is
Look, I mean, for those of you who don't know, and even for those that do, in a little refresher course, a pro forma Imagine you're buying a 10 store retail center, and 6 of them are currently leased up, and then 4 of them are vacant, and you're buying that. The realtor is going to most likely sell this on income as if the whole entire center was leased. Maybe they'll take out a little vacancy factor of 5 or 8%, depending on the market. But generally speaking, they're going to account for the bays that are vacant being leased, and that is called a pro forma, income stream, or pro forma meaning projected, as if the value is added to the project.
Yeah, so that's a pro forma. So the question is, I'm a buyer. I get a pro forma from a seller or a realtor. How much credibility do I put in that?
Well, it depends who does it, to be honest.
And can I assume those numbers are going to be accurate or close to accurate?
I could tell you that a buyer's underwriting for deals tends to vary greatly from a seller's. We tend to try and bridge that gap by underwriting deals for our clients, our sellers, as if we were a buyer. And, we like to get realistic. We put in a management fee. We put in a vacancy factor. We put in a capital reserve, thinking the worst can happen. We bump up taxes and insurance to reflect the sale and what, a buyer would have to pay for those type of things. And we're very conservative in how we view lease up of spaces. We look at what the market rents are. We don't look at, what the highest rent one of the tenants in this specific center is paying that, you may have had for 20 years and they've been getting CPI increases every year and they happen to be paying the most. We don't base it on that. We base it on reality. What the last 5 leases in that market or in that center, what they were signed at. And for bays, the size that we're looking at, a 10,000 square foot bay will lease much differently than a 1,000 square foot.
We come at this from different angles. You're selling the property. I'm financing it or I'm investing it. So my answer would be absolutely do not put any credibility, no offense, in any performance that anyone gives you, because they're going to present the best light on it. And the reality is things are always worse. A tenant leaves, you're going to have more vacancy, you're going to have more capital improvements. I always say talk to someone who owns a similar property and see what reality is and redo the pro forma, because I often find they're so much different reality than what a seller.
The fantasy that we present.
That's exactly. No offense to you. You Marcus and Millichap, and you do fantastic performers, very detailed. But I think someone has to assume that the income's going to be a lot lower. The expenses.
Well, you need to assume the worst anyway, because A, your bank is going to, and B, if you're not underwriting a deal for worst case scenario, at least as one of your 3 cases, and every deal should be underwritten for a base case, a positive, best case scenario, and then a worst case scenario. Every deal. And you need to see in a worst case scenario if you could still tread water, because if you can't, it's not the deal for you.
100%. You got to be conservative because the expenses are always a lot more than you plan on. So okay, a couple more. How do I know where to buy a property? What location? So my answer to that would be, really, you should buy in an area that is close to you.
And that and understand.
Yes, learn and master an area, and then buy in that area. So you should have an idea. You should know everything about the area, especially if it's residential. If it's a credit tenant deal like a Walgreens or a CVS, it's less important. But it's still important. But I think you have to master that area.
Yeah.
And know every sales comp, every leasing comp, no realtors.
Talk to people, talk to tenants, talk to owners, not necessarily in the center you're looking at, which could be a little taboo, but talk to people in the marketplace you're looking at and find out what things are like, what things have been like over the past couple of years. Are things getting better? Are things getting worse? Why? Did a big company go out of business recently that you should be aware of? I mean, you need to understand the economic drivers of an area, the traffic counts, any major construction that's going on, road work that's going on that could disrupt things, all kinds of things that you need to understand if you're going to buy real estate.
I agree. With that, we got to take a commercial break. We'll come back for our last segment and hit some more questions.